Most women think texting is about saying the right thing, but the truth is, men don't fall for perfect words. They fall for how a message makes them feel. One text can make him curious, another can make him relaxed. Another can make him feel chosen, respected, and excited to pursue you. And today I'm going to show you 4 types of texts that don't chase, don't beg, don't overexplain, yet quietly make a man lean in, invest emotionally, and want more of you. Most men move through the world feeling appreciated for what they do, but rarely for who they are. They are praised for results, corrected for mistakes, and expected to stay emotionally steady no matter what they feel inside. That's why appreciation texts have such a powerful effect. When a woman takes a moment to acknowledge a man's effort, character, or presence, it cuts through layers of emotional armor and reaches something deeper. It tells him, often in ways he doesn't hear often, that he is seen, valued, and respected. Appreciation is not flattery. Flattery focuses on surface-level traits like looks or status, and while that can feel nice, it doesn't last. Appreciation, on the other hand, recognizes intention, effort, and integrity. When you send a message that reflects awareness of what he chose to do or how he showed up, it signals emotional intelligence. A simple line like, "I really liked how you handled that situation today," does more than compliment him. It affirms his judgment, his values, and his capability. That kind of recognition stays with him far longer than praise that feels generic or exaggerated. Respect is one of the strongest emotional currencies in a man's world. When a man feels respected, he feels safe to invest. Appreciation texts communicate respect without pressure. They don't demand reassurance or validation in return. They don't ask him to fix something or prove himself. They simply acknowledge. This creates a rare emotional experience where he can relax, because he's not being evaluated or tested. He's being understood, and when a man feels understood, his emotional walls naturally come down. Being emotionally seen doesn't mean analyzing his feelings or pushing him to open up before he's ready. In fact, appreciation texts often work precisely because they don't force emotional exposure. Instead of asking him to explain himself, you reflect what you noticed. You might say, "I noticed you went out of your way to make sure everyone felt comfortable," or "I appreciate how calm you were when things got stressful." These messages show awareness. They tell him that his actions and presence didn't go unnoticed, even when he wasn't trying to impress. Another reason appreciation texts are so effective is that they validate effort, not perfection. Men often feel pressure to get things right, to lead correctly, to provide the right response. When appreciation highlights effort instead of outcome, it removes that pressure. It reassures him that he doesn't need to perform to be valued. He just needs to show up. That sense of acceptance creates emotional safety, which is a foundation for deeper attraction and long-term connection. Appreciation also strengthens emotional memory. When a man receives a thoughtful message that recognizes him, his brain associates you with positive emotion. Over time, this creates a quiet emotional pull. He begins to feel good when he hears from you, not because of excitement or drama, but because of calm reassurance. You become a place of emotional relief, not emotional demand. That distinction matters more than most people realize. It's important to understand that appreciation texts don't need to be frequent to be powerful. In fact, overuse can dilute their impact. What makes them meaningful is sincerity and timing. When appreciation feels earned and specific, it lands. When it feels automatic or excessive, it loses its weight. A well-placed message at the right moment can mean more than dozens of compliments sent without intention. Ultimately, appreciation texts work because they meet a quiet emotional need many men carry but rarely voice. They want to feel competent, trusted, and valued for the energy they bring into a connection. When your words reflect that recognition, you're not just sending a message. You're building emotional trust, and emotional trust is what turns attraction into attachment and connection into commitment. Emotional connection doesn't grow from constant communication or perfectly crafted messages. It grows from moments of honesty that feel safe, light, and unforced. Emotion-sharing texts create this kind of connection because they invite someone into your inner world without placing responsibility on them to fix, reassure, or perform. They allow a man to feel close to you without feeling trapped by expectation, and that balance is what makes these texts so powerful. Many people misunderstand emotional sharing and assume it means unloading every feeling or turning texting into a space for constant processing. In reality, that often creates pressure rather than intimacy. True emotion sharing is selective and self-aware. It communicates how you feel, not what the other person should do about it. A message like, "Today was overwhelming, but I feel calmer now," shares vulnerability while still signaling emotional independence. It lets him see you without making him feel responsible for managing your emotional state. Men, in particular, connect through feeling impactful rather than through extended emotional analysis. When a man senses that his presence, words, or actions positively influence your emotional world, he feels valued. An emotion-sharing text such as "talking to you earlier genuinely lifted my mood" doesn't ask for reassurance or attention. It simply reflects an emotional truth. This creates warmth and connection because it allows him to feel like a positive force in your life, not an emotional caretaker. Another reason these texts work is that they create emotional transparency without intensity. They offer a window rather than a demand. When you share a feeling calmly, without dramatizing it or attaching urgency, it tells him that emotions are welcome but not overwhelming in this connection. That reassurance is critical. It helps him relax and engage emotionally at his own pace, instead of pulling away to protect his sense of freedom. Emotion-sharing texts also build trust because they show emotional maturity. When you can articulate how you feel without blaming, accusing, or hinting, it demonstrates self-regulation. For example, saying, "I felt a little disappointed earlier, but I understand things happen," communicates honesty without conflict. This kind of message doesn't create tension, it reduces it. It tells him that emotional conversations with you are safe and constructive, not volatile or draining. These texts are especially powerful because they humanize you. Instead of presenting a polished K version of yourself, you allow him to see real emotions in a grounded way. That authenticity deepens attraction because it feels real rather than performative. At the same time, because you're not asking him to solve or respond in a specific way, he's free to respond naturally. That freedom is what keeps emotional connection alive rather than turning it into obligation. Timing also plays a crucial role. Emotion-sharing texts land best when they're connected to real moments, not used as constant check-ins. Sharing how you felt after an experience, a conversation, or a day shows reflection rather than reactivity. It communicates depth without heaviness. Over time, this builds a pattern where emotional sharing feels normal and welcomed, not rare or overwhelming. Ultimately, emotion-sharing texts create connection because they strike a delicate balance between openness and autonomy. They allow closeness without pressure, vulnerability without dependence, and honesty without expectation. When a man experiences emotional sharing in this way, he associates connection with ease rather than effort. And that sense of ease is what allows attraction to grow into something deeper, steadier, and more meaningful over time. Independence is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can convey in her texts, yet it is often misunderstood. Many people assume that texting less or showing personal boundaries will create distance or push a man away. The truth is exactly the opposite. Independence texts messages that demonstrate a full, self-sufficient life actually increase attraction by signaling confidence, self-respect, and emotional stability. When a man sees that you enjoy your life and prioritize your own happiness, he is drawn to you naturally because you are not emotionally needy or overly available. Confidence is inherently attractive, and independence texts communicate it effortlessly. A message like, "I'm heading out for a hike this afternoon, talk later," or "catching up with friends tonight, can't wait to hear about your day tomorrow," sends a subtle but powerful message. You have your own life, your own priorities, and you don't exist solely around him. You are an individual who chooses to share moments with him, rather than a person waiting for permission or validation. This creates a sense of intrigue and respect because men are naturally drawn to someone who is self-assured and emotionally autonomous. Independence texts also reduce pressure in a relationship. Many men feel overwhelmed when a woman appears too dependent on their attention or approval. Constantly asking for validation, pushing for immediate responses, or seeking reassurance can trigger stress and reduce attraction. Independence texts, however, communicate that your happiness is not contingent on his actions. For example, texting, "I'm going to start that new hobby I've been thinking about, talk soon," shows enthusiasm for your own life while inviting him to be a part of it on your terms. This creates a sense of freedom within the relationship and makes interaction with you feel like a choice rather than an obligation. Another key effect of independence texts is that they increase anticipation. When you show that your time is valuable and your world is full, interactions become moments to look forward to rather than routine expectations. A man is more likely to engage actively, respond thoughtfully, and invest emotionally when he senses that your attention is not guaranteed. In a sense, independence texts turn communication into a game of mutual curiosity and engagement. He begins to see you not just as someone to talk to, but as someone whose presence enriches his life, and that sense of voluntary involvement is incredibly compelling. Independence texts also communicate emotional security. They show that you are comfortable being alone, pursuing your passions, and handling your life with confidence. Men are attracted to women who do not rely on them for emotional stability, because it signals maturity. A message like, "I'm taking the weekend to focus on my projects. I'll share the updates with you later," demonstrates that you are goal-oriented and self-directed, qualities that build respect and admiration. Emotional security, conveyed through these texts, allows a man to feel safe to express himself without fear of being the sole source of your happiness or validation. Furthermore, independence texts create boundaries naturally. They establish a rhythm in communication where you show interest but maintain self-respect. You don't chase, you don't overexplain, and you don't make yourself overly available. This balance is critical because it positions you as someone who has standards and values her own time, qualities that naturally elevate your desirability. By texting from a place of autonomy, you encourage mutual effort, curiosity, and engagement, rather than dependence or obligation. Ultimately, independence texts increase attraction because they showcase confidence without arrogance, self-sufficiency without coldness, and emotional security without detachment. They transform texting from a tool of neediness into a tool of empowerment. Men are drawn to women who are fulfilled in their own lives and choose to include them in a meaningful way. Independence texts make you feel intriguing, grounded, and magnetic. and they lay the foundation for a connection that is balanced, healthy, and deeply attractive. Positive anticipation texts are one of the most subtle yet powerful tools for maintaining attraction and deepening emotional connection. Unlike texts that react to past events or try to solve problems, these messages focus on looking forward, on creating excitement, curiosity, and a sense of shared joy about what's to come. When used correctly, they keep emotional momentum alive, making a man look forward to interacting with you, not out of obligation, but because he genuinely wants to. At their core, positive anticipation texts communicate enthusiasm without pressure. They signal that you enjoy his presence and look forward to future moments together, but they do so lightly, without demanding immediate attention or emotional labor. For example, a message like, "Can't wait to hear about your weekend adventure," or "Looking forward to our chat later, I know it'll be fun," doesn't push him to respond in a certain way. Instead, it sparks curiosity and excitement, giving him a sense that he is part of something enjoyable and meaningful. This anticipation creates emotional energy that fuels connection over time. One reason positive anticipation texts are so effective is that they create a forward-looking emotional experience. Many interactions focus on past events or daily logistics, which can feel mundane. Positive anticipation shifts the focus towards something to look forward to, making your communication feel exciting rather than routine. It builds a subtle emotional rhythm where each message carries the potential for joy or meaningful engagement. Men, like everyone else, are drawn to interactions that energize them emotionally rather than deplete them. And anticipation texts do exactly that. These texts also enhance a sense of exclusivity and significance. By highlighting future moments, you communicate that your time together is something special and worth looking forward to. It could be something as simple as, "I can't wait to hear your thoughts on that book we talked about," or "looking forward to grabbing coffee tomorrow and catching up properly." These messages don't demand constant interaction or validation. They simply signal that your shared experiences are meaningful, which naturally strengthens emotional investment. Another important effect of anticipation texts is that they create a sense of momentum in the connection. Emotional momentum is the feeling that the relationship is continuously moving forward, growing, and evolving. Without it, interactions can feel stagnant or predictable, which reduces excitement and engagement. Positive anticipation texts act like gentle nudges, keeping the energy alive without overloading the other person. Over time, this consistent forward-looking energy builds a pattern where he begins to associate your presence with positivity, excitement, and a sense of moving towards something enjoyable. Positive anticipation also subtly communicates emotional security and confidence. By looking forward to something without attaching neediness or pressure, you show that you value the relationship, enjoy the connection, and trust that it will continue naturally. This kind of messaging is magnetic because it signals that you are emotionally grounded, and men are naturally drawn to partners who bring stability along with excitement. Timing and specificity amplify the power of these texts. Generic statements like "can't wait to see you" are okay, but messages tied to real shared experiences carry more weight. Mentioning a past conversation, an inside joke, or a future plan makes the anticipation tangible. "I've been thinking about our plan to try that new cafe. It's going to be so fun." Specificity makes the excitement real and relatable, increasing emotional engagement and making the interaction memorable. Ultimately, positive anticipation texts work because they transform ordinary communication into a dynamic emotional experience. They make him look forward to interactions with genuine enthusiasm, encourage him to invest emotionally, and sustain the connection over time. By creating anticipation without pressure, you foster a sense of momentum that keeps attraction alive, making your relationship feel exciting, meaningful, and effortless. Men, like everyone, naturally gravitate toward experiences and people that evoke positive emotional energy, and positive anticipation texts allow you to create exactly that.